Folks, global economy's going nuts, and I mean nuts. This trade war, it just keeps lingering on. Now we're hearing a possibility of another trade war with Europe. Wine and cheese exports. Oy vey, that's all I could say. But here, we're going to talk about currency ETFs. Why? It's important right now. It's a crucial time to learn about currency ETFs. They can really protect you, help you right now. So let's get into it in today's video. If you've been following me for a while, well, then you know that when it comes to systems and strategies, I've always done things on my own. It's always been me, myself, and I. But now I have a secret weapon, Rob Booker. Booker's great, the world's top currency expert. And together we've developed a very powerful strategy that naturally protects you against crashes in stocks. Yes, those pesky crashes in the stock market. Tap the button below this video and find out how we've used it to lock in profits of 73.7%, 96.2%, and 173.5% in just a matter of 2 weeks. Now let's see what's happening with the currency ETFs. All right, folks, currency ETFs, global economy, what is it you need to know? Let me explain something really important to you. A lot of people don't realize this. They think US, the biggest economy in the world, that means news comes out, it impacts US stocks, and then everything trickles from there. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let me explain to you how things work. You have global data, China trade war, that's global data, or something that we're hearing from Europe. Just this morning, we're hearing that there may be another trade war with Europe because Trump is imposing tariffs, which may limit the export of wine and cheese into America from Europe, which may impact employment situation, because if we need less wine and cheese in the US, there's going to be less employees in Europe making it. It hasn't started yet, but it may happen. It's looming like a cloud. So that's going on right now. Employment data is a little weaker, but here's what you need to understand. Whenever you hear these numbers, whenever you hear these employment numbers, it doesn't really impact the US stock market. No. It impacts the global currency market. Then it trickles into the US and global bond markets. And then finally it goes into the US stock market. So first, global currency market, then global and US interest rate market, and then the US stock market. Why? Well, let me explain something to you. The global currency market is about 10,000 times or more bigger than the US stock market. It is massive, and I mean massive. So what you're seeing in these little movements, these shakes in the US stock markets, it's an aftershock from what you're seeing in the currency market and the bond market. So the currency market's a lot bigger. And here's the thing you need to understand. Currencies, global currencies, and gold, they're not correlated with the US stock market. Better yet, they have negative correlation with the US stock market. What does that mean? That means when stocks are moving down, currencies are going to be exploding. Volatility is going to be rising. Volatility gives you opportunity to make money. Also, gold rises. And that's an asset that we trade as a hedge in the jump trade ETF portfolio. So what I'm trying to get at is this. You have a major advantage right now because stocks are moving south. And there's no better way to protect and diversify your account than by adding currency ETFs. And that's what Jump Trades does. If you look at the performance of Jump Trade and look at the performance of the US stock market, you will see hardly any correlation. They don't trade off of each other. As a matter of fact, they're negatively correlated. Historically, when stocks exhibit a lot of volatility and downsides, commodities and currencies do well. That's how it's been for decades, and I mean decades. So again, there's a lot of reasons right now, this minute, to look at currency ETFs. Now, you could be asking me, Roger, why don't I just look at Forex? Well, Forex are fixed-size contracts. Currency ETFs, you could trade down to a share. So if you have a smaller account, currency ETFs will give you a lot bigger bang for the buck. Also, with jump trades, it's a system. It's a methodology that involves gold and a bunch of other currency ETFs. So it gives you a hedge over each other, and it gives you a fine-tuned cluster. So again, global economy impacts global currencies, then the bond market, then the stock market. That's number one. And number two, there's very little correlation. As a matter of fact, there's negative correlation, which is really good for a hedge. Have you guys ever heard the saying, diversification is the last free lunch Wall Street will offer you? Well, when you diversify, when you add uncorrelated assets into your portfolio, you are diversifying your portfolio. You're spreading risk. You're doing the opposite of putting all your eggs in one basket, okay? So by adding a currency ETF portfolio into your stock portfolio, or changing it, mixing it up and trading that instead of stocks when stocks are sinking or not having clear direction, or when there's a trade war, it gives your portfolio an upper leg. It gives you an advantage. It gives you an unfair advantage because it creates uncorrelated assets in your portfolio. Because here's the thing, when stocks go down, all stocks go down. You may have a few sectors like really defensive stocks and utilities go up, but if stocks are down 800 points, the odds are most stocks will go down that day, or at least not rise. That kills your opportunity because you could be looking at gold, you could be looking at currencies that day, and they could be rising like crazy. So again, if you guys want to add diversification and lower the risk in your portfolio, which is what a hedge fund trader would do and a professional trader would do, you want to get into jump trades and you want to get into currency ETFs. I highly, highly recommend currency ETFs right now till this trade war and this global uncertainty that we're seeing right now, impeachment talks, Europe with their cheese and wine, until that's over. Hope that helps. So, are you thinking about currency trading? Well, you've got to check out Jump Trades. Rob Booker and I, we worked extremely hard for over a year to make a currency system that works in any market, is easy to execute, and removes the traditional risks and complications. And the result, well, it was well worth it. Click the button below to find out how you can start growing your wealth with Jump Trades now.